Alright, so I have been away for a very long time, and I wanted to come on here and tell you guys where I've been. First of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome to Parks and Popcorn, and if you are not new to the channel, welcome back, or I should really just say, I'm welcome back, I guess, because I've been doing kind of a whole lot of nothing, if I'm being honest. Well, that's half true and half not true. In today's video, we will actually get to some Disney stuff, and I'll give you my thoughts on old news, but still news nonetheless, that we have a brand new Disney CEO as of the last time that I ever put a video out. We have Josh D'Amaro as our Disney CEO, but really this video is going to act as a sort of video for me to say, oh, this is where I've been and this is what I've been up to. So, this video is not at all scripted. There's going to be probably a lot of little cuts in the audio and such because I'm just speaking my mind right now, but I'll tell you where I've been. Back in August of 2025, I went to college as a freshman, and keeping up with this channel was a little bit of a challenge because I had to learn time management completely on my own, and I'm pretty terrible at that if I'm being honest. Now, right now, it's May, and it is my summer break until August again. I'm not going to give the specific dates, but you'll probably see when we're getting closer to August how the content will sort of change. But I will say this. First and foremost, before I go any further about what I was doing and what got me so distracted, I will say that yes, I am actually going to be doing content pretty consistently. Thankfully, I have a roommate who will be better for me to do content in the same room as, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but we'll get there. Alright, so what have I been doing? I made a few videos when I was in college, not a whole lot, and immediately I realized that the audio was a little rough, and I didn't really put any effort into fixing that, which was a big no-no. But the audio is pretty rough just based on the rooms that I'm in and how to record in a college dorm. Now, that's a very easy hurdle that I can get by, but I'm just giving you the technical stuff. You can go back and watch my Small World video, which I made in my dorm, and that one was, different, I feel like, in audio quality compared to some of the others. Now, after Christmas break for me, and I guess actually before that, I was lacking in the actual video content. It was hard for me to keep up between studies, which really sucked because I missed my entire first October on this channel when I could be talking about fun haunts experiences and other stuff such, other, Halloween horror stuff related to theme parks. And instead, I kind of just dropped the ball. Now, I saw viewership pretty, tank pretty hard, and then I tried coming back, and it kind of worked. I didn't have the same reach that I did. I wasn't hitting the exact same audience, which it's not always about the views. It's not ever really about the views. It's about my hobby, but it was nice seeing people that actually connected with the content and then going to me having like 1 or 2 month absence and then seeing almost nobody really connect with the content. It's fun when I get people commenting in the sections and everything like that. I really, really appreciate that. I get to see it a lot more on TikTok and Instagram, more so TikTok, which is really fun. But hey, if you guys ever want to interact with me as an audience, please do. It's incredible for me because it's really fun just for me to connect back with you guys. You guys give me, feedback or give me, you know, history lessons and tips on stuff that I didn't even know about the subjects I'm covering, and I thought that I researched them pretty well, and apparently I'm missing a whole lot of different anecdotes. But anyways, going past that, October and the fall was kind of rough. There was a lot of things going on for me academically and personally, and this channel became a last priority. In fact, I actually canceled and ended my very first podcast, Anycast, in the fall because I was going to do a completely different show, and I also realized I had absolutely no passion for that show. Of course, I actually do have passion for this. This has been a passion of mine since I was a little child, all the theme parks, themed entertainment, and really the Disney company overall. Wasn't really like a huge Universal kid, but I am enjoying getting into that stuff even though I've never been in the parks. It's fun to talk about their stuff. But themed entertainment, roller coasters, all that fun stuff. And film, which I named the, channel Parks and Popcorn for a reason, so I could also have an avenue to talk about film and TV every once in a while, but the main focus being theme parks. It's been a passion of mine, and I never really didn't, I never stopped being passionate about this stuff. I just had other things consuming my life. And then it got a lot worse in November and December, even though I was back home, it still got a lot worse. And I don't really even think I made much content in December, or if it was, then I don't really think it was up to the standards that I should be holding the content to. I mean, honestly, last April when I started this channel, which hooray, we got past a whole year, but really, was it really a whole year? It was on the page for a whole year, but I wasn't even posting consistently for like the past 4 months. So, there's that. But anyways, last year we were rolling pretty well and the channel was going pretty good, I'd say. And then, of course, I made a documentary that got a decent reach, a little short documentary to celebrate 70 years at Disney. And that was a fun project that I had built the, audience and page towards, leading towards that for a little bit there. It was fun stuff like that, and I was ready to keep on rolling with that throughout my college career. Now, is college really the hardest thing on earth? No. If you know how to manage your time and resources and social life and balance that with work, it's really not that hard. However, I learned that the hard way of, how I learned the hard way of having to balance my life and all this stuff. And content creation, one of my biggest hobbies and passions that gave me joy, completely left the window at some point. And I'm not even talking just about this, I'm talking about my personal Instagram page. Like, it just went completely downhill after one point. Long story short, there were some people that I was involved with that I let consume 5 months of my life entirely, and yeah, it's a stain on my first year of college, no doubt about it. There, looking back, there's some positives that I could look at from that situation. Um, it wasn't the absolute worst thing in the world. I mean, it was pretty bad, don't get me wrong. It was actually pretty terrible, to be honest. But was it the absolute worst thing? No, because I can still look at it in a positive light and, gain some valuable lessons from some really not great friendships and everything like that. We're not going to get into the details of what all went on because you guys don't exactly need that, but I'm just giving reason as to why I've been gone for so long. Now, after that, which ended in like beginning of March, I was like, yeah, I should get back into my, show. My parents were asking me, oh, are you going to do the content again? Like you have so much more time now and you're not having these people consume your life. Like, are you going to get back into this? And the answer was yes, and I should have, but my roommate. Now, here's the thing. When you're in college, you are assigned a random roommate, especially your first year, unless you know somebody going into the school, which, let's be honest, is pretty rare for most people. I ended up having 3 roommates over the course of freshman year, and I actually will explain. It's not because I'm a bad roommate. I think I'm actually a pretty decent roommate, if that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to hype myself up here or anything, but I'm just gonna illustrate. It wasn't actually my fault. The first time our room got flooded, and my roommate left. How did that happen? You might ask. Plumbing issues. Yeah, my room got flooded in within like the first 4 months of living at college. After that, I got a completely new roommate. Honestly, I was gonna live on my own, but it got very, very lonesome not having another roommate, and the rest of my area, because I live in a sort of apartment style housing where I have 6 other roommates max, but they're divided into their own rooms. Well, the place was really empty and dead. There was only 2 other guys that I never interacted with, so I felt like I was living in an empty house or apartment all on my own. My second roommate, however, I actually did live with till the end of the year because of that housing lineup that I just gave you. That format was true when we moved buildings to a completely different building with the same housing. However, he and I registered into the new place and we realized we could not be direct roommates, but we could live in the same room, or quad as they call it, which was good enough for me, to be honest, and good enough for him. So I had my third roommate. My second roommate, he and I got along. We got along pretty well. We were going to live together. My last roommate, we got along well, I would say, but he was a homebody through and through. Loved staying at home, loved having his time to himself, so I didn't really have the room at all to myself. Like, literally ever. Man went to the classes, the very few he had, come back, sit in the room all day, maybe go to the gym for 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, come back, play his Xbox, and you know how it is, play his Xbox, watch YouTube, whatever else. And that kind of made it impossible for me to make film content, stuff like that, in my own dorm room with my setup and my microphone and all that, because he was constantly in the room 24/7. Now, I will say, we are in summer. Next year, the entire year, I will have one roommate that I really enjoy, a really, really good friend of mine who it's going to be easy to ask him, hey, can I just have the room for about 25, 30 minutes? Or if it's a longer project, 60 minutes, because he's not always going to be living in the room because he and I both have hobbies and go and do stuff. Now, if you're wondering about my social life or anything, in the end, after the whole debacle with a 5-month friend group, things actually did get better. I salvaged one relationship, or actually rather two, out of that thing that worked pretty well and still have. And I've made some other great friends and just been in a lot more healthier communities, getting to know a lot of different people around the campus. So my time at college has been enjoyable overall, even though it's been a crazy ride and I didn't even really give you guys half of the context, but it's gotten better. The main point is, yes, I'll be making videos all year long. I will actually have to, plan ahead because I'm going to probably be volunteering as a sort of scare actor, which, if that happens, don't you even worry. I will be making a video in October as my experience of being a scare actor, which will hopefully happen, and that would be a fun video to do and really a fun experience for me to do and give you guys my insight. And honestly, maybe even face reveal at that point. If not face reveal, then I'll just wear my Ghostface suit and you'll just be looking at Ghostface talking to you head on through a camera, or I'll just put the usual footage over it. But I will be making videos this entire summer long and this entire school year long. Hopefully, no delays at all whatsoever. I will say we're gonna stick to the Sunday structure that I originally put forth. However, of course, there's gonna be those news videos, such as this one, that just sporadically come up throughout the week. So have the notification bell turned on if you're subscribed to the channel, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because I will say that there are going to be some other news channel videos coming out pretty soon from me, because we're going to have to cover Soarin' Over America, I believe it's called now. Soarin' Over America, the rock and roller coaster with the Muppets as well. Those two are coming out pretty soon, and we're going to be covering them and fan reactions and all sorts of stuff. In fact, I'm not even going to commentate on the news that we already have from both of them in this video. I'm just going to save the commentary for those videos because, yes, we've already gotten some leaks and, footage actually from the company and influencers and all that fun stuff and the track list for the rock and roller coaster. But don't worry, we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff, and hopefully in the fall, we can be collaborating with a content creator that I actually met and knew. One of my coolest things in college, I think, personally for me, was meeting somebody who actually does the exact sort of thing that I do. Now, my friend, I know him personally, good friend of mine, his name is The Vlogger Dude, and I'm going to link his channel down below. I want you all to go and subscribe to him. I want you all to go and find his TikTok and, follow there too, or his Instagram. He goes into the parks. He goes into the parks whenever he can, but he would love to be a full-time theme park YouTuber. And he's a good friend of mine. It's a very fun thing getting to know somebody, first of all, in your same exact degree department. The same degree that I'm doing is also doing this as a hobby. Now, I take the more commentary side and breaking down a whole attraction. He goes actually into the park like a vlogger, which, two different coins of the entire theme park YouTuber space, or two different sides of the theme park YouTuber space. But hey, good friend of mine, fellow theme park content creator that I know personally. I get to nerd out about the theme park stuff with him all the time, and it's an absolute blast. I enjoy being around him, talking to him about stuff, going to our school library and finding Disney Imagineering books, and mostly they just have the Disney Imagineering books, but still getting some Disney Imagineering books at my school library for free, renting them out, looking through like these art books and these, biographies about Walt or whatever else. Like, pretty cool stuff that I get to talk to him about. And, he's actually met some of the guys that I look up to and he looked up to that, got him into starting this whole thing. It got me into starting this whole thing, such as Justin Scard, and he did not get to meet our dearly departed Adam Wu. However, he did get to have a lot of shout outs. We'll probably have him on the channel someday. We might even just do a fun little interview episode because I think he and I would have, first of all, really great chemistry on a camera and just talk for a lot and, talk about theme park stuff. And I could ask him about, oh, how is this? How is this? How is this? Because he has been to a lot of these opening day stuff. In fact, honestly, if he goes to any more opening day stuff, I hope to have him on the channel to talk about some opening day stuff as an opening day correspondent because I personally can't get out there. And hey, if I know somebody and they want to come on the show and tell me how cool it is or how not cool it is, great. So what I'm saying is I met somebody who is in the exact same space as me, which is pretty cool and pretty rare. I never actually thought that I ever would meet somebody, let alone at my college of all places, a fellow theme park content creator who loves this stuff and is about deep into this stuff or even deeper than I am into this stuff. So it's great. We'll have some collaborations with him. But now, for the news that you've all been waiting for me to probably commentate on, we have Josh D'Amaro. And honestly, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. Josh D'Amaro came in as Bob Iger's successor. If you guys are unaware, Bob Iger was the Disney CEO for the majority of my life. Actually, I think my entire life, except when Bob Chapek stepped in. And Chapek was supposed to be a CEO here at Disney, and his era is one of the messiest eras. In fact, I will say, I'm actually going to be making a docu-series at some point talking about every single Disney CEO, starting with Walt, the man who made the company, and we will just go CEO by CEO, looking at what did they do right and what did they not do right. And trust me, some episodes are going to be a lot longer than others. In fact, sure, you could call it a docu-series or we could just call it a little series. I mean, it'll be probably documentary style. When will this come out? I'm not even going to give you guys a date. I would honestly say January 2027 because, my goodness, the amounts of research that I'm going to have to do for this and the amounts of editing, it'll be worth it in the end. It'll be a fun series to watch for all of you guys. But I want to go deep into some of these people's CEO tenure, and one of them that we're going to have to discuss is Chapek. Chapek had a very messy era. He was practically ousted out of the company, and Bob Iger had to come back in and save the day after Bob Iger, retired, wrote a whole memoir, which I own, of his called The Ride of a Lifetime, talking about his experiences as a Disney CEO, and then he came back and basically saved the company. And honestly, I was just talking to somebody about this. I think that Bob just came back in to be the buffer between Chapek and whoever else he could instate. And this time, I think he really tried to do his homework and find somebody that the community would love and somebody that would love the actual company and, serve the company right, do the company some justice. Oh my goodness. Yes, I am sick. And I'm fighting through that for the past 2 weeks. So lots of cuts around the coughs and some of the coughs left in. But yes, I am very sick. Anyways. Josh D'Amaro was the head of the theme parks and all that fun stuff. He was the guy who was in charge for a good bit of time, and now he's the CEO, and he was the top pick. A lot of Disney fans and a lot of people that know the company pretty well expected him to be the CEO. And so far, I'm pretty happy with most things he said. If I'm remembering correctly, he pulled out already of the AI deal that was investing a lot of money and was a big no-no that Bob Iger did. And Josh D'Amaro, it seems, wants to go back to I believe it was the traditional animation styles. I think I saw that somewhere. He has done a few things in the company. I looked up what he's done, but nothing that I really want to get into right now, just because it seems very more business related. I will say, of course, Disney got hit with a lot of layoffs. A lot of companies are getting hit with a lot of layoffs. And of course, when Disney does layoffs, it's pretty bad because the numbers are just insane. But you also have to realize Disney is a massive company. I'm not saying the layoffs are good at all. I don't like when I see, companies having to lay people off. It's really, really rough. like really, really rough. In fact, honestly, the first time I saw Disney laying people off was it was a hard hitting reality for me who wanted to work at Disney, and then realizing, wow, that's how the real world works. I could just be laid off and put out of my job. It's pretty rough that he had to, do all those layoffs, and he's doing a lot of more so behind the scenes changing power dynamics, it seems, in the company, which maybe is good, maybe isn't good. I have no idea. All I know is that he's changing the company. Kevin Feige is sort of changing how Marvel runs a little bit. And of course, we have changes in Star Wars. Now, I do want to backpedal a little bit to Marvel because let's just talk about all the change going on at the Disney company overall. Marvel is seeing layoffs as well, and this has affected the visual effects department and a lot of other departments and some Marvel legends really in the space who have been there since day one have been let go. I can't remember one of the guys' names, but it was pretty big and news that he had gotten let go. I'm probably showing a photo of it right now, and it was pretty upsetting for the community. But I hope these companies know what they're doing, especially when it comes to Marvel, because laying off the visual effects department, yeah, I know it's a big department, but that one's pretty rough. There's a lot of people there. All right, but moving on to Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy is no longer the CEO at Disney Star Wars, or at Lucasfilm rather, I guess. And that's big news. Dave Filoni is now the CEO of Disney or of Lucasfilm. He's the president there. He's the guy. He's the guy that they report to. He's the guy running the show. He has some lady, who I don't remember her name, who is like the second in command right there with him. And I'm interested to see where this goes. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I have been pretty critical, I think, of Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars tenure and how she has operated Star Wars. A lot of people are very critical of that. I think some people might be a little bit more critical or harsher on it than I am. I mean, there's very few things that I appreciate that came out under her tenure at Star Wars, being, the sole operator of it all. I think that there are some very poor business decisions that went on, and it's created a lot of problems for Star Wars as a brand and as for their entire fan base. I mean, Star Wars is just a forgettable property at this point. In some ways. Let me explain that a little bit. I think Star Wars is one of those properties that is getting closer and closer to the most forgettable property ever made. Because, yes, even though we have three iconic films being the original trilogy, and then you have the prequels as well, people are already, split on the prequels and the originals. But I would say the overwhelming public of, Star Wars fans, they're pretty gracious with those. Every other new project that has come out, they either start off very, very, very strong and then fall to the absolute worst quality ever, or they start at the worst quality ever and somehow get even worse. Star Wars is becoming a joke of a brand, and I think Dave Filoni is going to help fix it, or at least I hope so. It seems like right now the last Kathleen Kennedy directed and oversight project is The Mandalorian and Grogu. You can maybe make the argument for Starfighter, but Mandalorian and Grogu seemingly is the last one. Maybe even Starfighter, I don't really know. I would have to look at the time frame of when that was all shot, but we're about to enter the Dave Filoni era after this film. Everything will be judged as he is the president. Now, even this film will be attached to him because he's president right now, even though the whole film was completed under Kathleen Kennedy's run. But but still, that's how it's going at Star Wars. So Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney overall have a lot of different power dynamics, I guess, and power institutions. It's a lot of different change there with the power and the people running these things. And we will see change. We've already kind of seen change. We're already seeing some narrative change. We're, I think, really gonna feel the change of Marvel once we get past Secret Wars and they have to start from scratch again. And I think this time around we're gonna see a completely different vision from Marvel. I think they've learned from a lot of their mistakes. I really, really hope so, of what they did after Infinity War. They made so many mistakes. I could make an entire video creating a much, much better uh, phase 4, 5, and 6 leading up to Doomsday and Secret Wars that would have more accurately teased everything. But yeah, I think that we're going to see hopefully positive change when it comes to Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney. So, will Josh tomorrow be a good CEO? Let's really hope so. You know, Bob Iger started as a pretty strong CEO, I would say, and over time, I think the fans got a little bit more critical of him, as every CEO kind of gets more criticism. There were some mistakes, I would say, and there were some absolute wins. But hey, that's the Disney that I grew up in, and honestly, I think Bob Iger did a good job. I would say overall he did a pretty good job. There's some things that I, fundamentally very much so disagree with. Mostly his stances on AI. I would have to look into some of the other stuff, but hey, he did a pretty good job. We have a good CEO coming in, or who's here already, and he has his vision, and he's gonna direct the company however he sees fit. He is gonna be focusing on the theme parks, though. It seems like a big amount is gonna be focused on theme parks and film. I don't know if Disney Plus is gonna be the biggest priority anymore. It kind of seemed like it was the biggest priority, of course, when it came out, but even in the years following after that, it seemed like a pretty big priority, which was pretty rough if we're being honest. But hey, we got a lot to look forward to. I'm going to make a lot of different content. In fact, before you go, I do want to say, yes, I will be making that Disney CEO. If it's not a docu-series, then it'll just be a little series of videos on my channel where I just talk about each and every CEO, what they did right, what they did wrong, their biggest success, and, biggest failures, the internal drama. A lot of that would really hit the Michael Eisner era, to be honest. A lot of like the internal drama, and that would be a very lengthy one, but I think it'd be very fun to look at nonetheless. Aside from that, I have a fun idea that I've been wanting to do, which combines the ideas of parks and popcorn in the best possible way, which is, of course, looking at films that were based off of rides. Now, this mostly applies to Disney. I have a whole list of them. I have made for TV films and actual theatrical films that are either pretty heavily based on a ride or loosely based on a ride. And I think I'm going to do that series starting at some point, one movie a month. I'll watch the movie, I'll give you some, you know, context and history around the actual ride or attraction itself, and then we're going to dive into the film and it'll be a blast. But hey, there's stuff to come. There's news videos to come. There's typical videos to come. So stay subscribed. Share this with all your friends and family that care about theme parks or have watched me in the past. And I'll see you guys pretty soon, starting every single Sunday now at 10 a.m. EST, just like it used to be. Peace out, guys.